Welcome to this short video introduction to the Camelot Thermovent High Performance Open Fire. My name is Paul Shaw. I'm the second generation owner of Camelot Fires, it having been founded by my father Trevor Shaw in 1972. We are actually going to go and see in a short while another fire that we've literally just completed for a customer. It's going to be installed next week, and that'll be a good opportunity for me to show you a different style of fire, but also some of the components that are at the moment hidden behind the canopy. So we'll go and see that in a short while. So what are the key components of a Thermovent Open Fire? Essentially they are the canopy, which you can see here. This particular one is steel. The fire itself, there's the grate front, and then there's the dog irons. So those are the key components of a Thermovent Open Fire. The fire itself gives you the performance that a lot of people find so attractive in a Thermovent as an open fire, that high level of performance. Then we have the canopy, we have the grate front, and then we have the dog irons. And it's these three elements, over and above the fire itself, that allows us to create the different fires that you may have seen on our website, using different styles, different shapes, different materials. Hand-beaten copper, polished brass, forged dog irons, hand-cast dog irons. And if you look on our website, you'll see many different styles, all created using those three components. So I said we'd come and have a look at another fire. So we've come into the finishing area where we prepare fires just before they go out to customers. And this is a fire that we've made for a customer in the south of England. You can see it's got a different style of dog irons, heavy set spit dog irons, similar style of scroll top grate front, but it's got a much bigger canopy. We call this an Inglenook style canopy, and they've taken the decision to add these 4 heavy studs. You know, these are the kind of choices lots of customers make to make that fire particular to them. This one's actually got lower dogs than we often do for this style for a particular reason for that particular customer. The canopy isn't actually in its finished state. It's yet to have the black lead paste applied to it to give it that grate finish, polished grate finish. We only do that when we get onto site, just in case something happens during transit. Every Thermovent fire incorporates a couple of controls that allows you to influence how the fire burns. It's not a wood burning stove, so it doesn't have doors on it, so you don't have the finite control that you do with a stove. But the main way to control the fire, I'll just put a glove on because they can get a bit hot if it's been running for a while, as this fire has, is a baffle control, which is up behind the canopy as part of the fire, and effectively it's a bar that allows you to move a baffle through 90 degrees from a fully closed position to a fully open position with 2 other stops in between. And what that allows you to do is to reduce the draw on the fire and at the same time increase the efficiency of it. The baffle control also allows you to close off the fire when it's not in use. And that means that in late spring, early autumn, when maybe you're not using the fire but your central heating's starting to come in, you can reduce the amount of hot air from your central heating system that's going up that chimney. Because with an open fire, whether it's lit or not, it will be drawing air from the room. So why do we call it a high performance fire? Well, the reason's twofold. Firstly, hidden up inside the fire behind the canopy are a series of baffles that restrict the flow of the gases up into the chimney so that it works, but they have the maximum opportunity to share the heat that they're carrying with the fire itself and back into the room. But it's what the Thermovent does with that heat that's the clever bit. So built into the fire is what's called a convection system, where it draws in room temperature air at the base, passes it along the bottom of the fire, up the back, and then across 4 hidden vents that you can't see there behind the canopy here, and it starts to pass that heat back into the room. This isn't the area that's taking the smoke away from the fire. That's separate via 2 gaps either side of those vents. So as the fire gets hotter, the metal of the fire gets hotter, it draws in more air at the base, pushes it through the heat exchangers and pushes it back out into the room. So it's not just about the fact that it's an efficient fire, it's about what it does with that heat and how it shares it around the room. What that means is it's moving the air in your room around. So as it pulls in the air and pushes it back out hotter than it went in, it starts to move all the air in the room around, so you'll get much less of a case of that 8-foot radius where everyone's got ruddy cheeks, but if you're sat behind them, or even your back might be cold. This fire will progressively raise the temperature of the whole room more evenly than a traditional open fire, and indeed some stoves that don't have convecting systems built into them. So very briefly, I was just going to show you some of the elements that make a Thermovent fire so efficient. And what you can see here is some of the heat exchangers that are taking the heat away from the fire and sharing it with the air in your room to create that convecting effect. You can see the vents here where the air is coming out from the convection system to push that hot air back into the room. And you can also see the flue baffle control. So from a fully open position there, all the way across to a fully closed position with the mid and the max positions as well. So just a quick overview of what makes the Thermovent so efficient. You can see here also we've got the vents here which pass the hot air back into the room, but you can see these spaces here between all the vents that allows the gases from the fire to pass up from the fire into the chimney. So there's a couple of other elements of the Thermovent fire that are worth sharing with you in this short introduction. The first one is its remarkable track record in curing smoke problems with chimneys that or fireplace openings that don't work. We've installed and supplied many of these fires in those situations, and because of the way it's designed, you can go from a fire that was filling your room full of smoke and has been for years, and perhaps you've been putting up with it for years, to a fire that will cure that smoke problem, and with it you will get a fire that is much more efficient, will give you much more heat, and it's a convecting fire to boot, so it will share that heat more evenly around the room. And don't forget that as part of that decision you get the choice of whatever type of canopy using different types of materials, styles of dog irons and grate fronts, so that you can customize the fire to look just how you would like it and match the surroundings in the room. The final thing that's worth just covering off is thatch properties. So our Thermovent open fire is a genuine open fire. What that means is the flue gas temperatures that are going up that chimney are much lower than you would experience with a stove. And various national insurers, including NFU and Wesleyan, have confirmed that they would regard this fire as an open fire as a lower risk to a thatch property than they would a stove. So many people have installed Thermovent open fires to replace a stove or instead of a stove, so that they can have that dream open fire with efficiency and good heat output, but their premiums stay low and they can sleep well at night knowing that their thatch is safe. One of the reasons we're so successful at helping people in thatch properties is because the fire will run on a 200mm diameter flue. Many open fires won't, they need a bigger diameter flue. And when you're trying to comply with the various building regulations and HETAS recommendations regarding how you flue up a thatch property, the smaller the diameter of the flue it can be is a real advantage. So the fact that this fire will run on the minimum 200mm flue is a real bonus for anyone who's trying to put an open fire or a fire of any type into a thatch property.